Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey with the JX Fight Club in Shanghai, China. Today we have a question from our friend Kevin. Kevin got in a fight with a friend of his, a former classmate. Now, Kevin and his friend are both pretty big guys. His friend is a little bit bigger than him, and they exchanged some punches. No serious injuries. Bit of a broken nose. Nothing unfixable. A little bit of blood, but at the end of the day, it looks like nobody won the fight, and both combatants backed off eventually. Kevin ends his letter like this. He says, "Now for me and a micro broken nose and blood, it isn't anything to give up. However, I feel mixed up now, and I can't even tell if I'm angry or just sad. I feel down. In a way, is there anything you could suggest me to do physically or something to calm me down so I can stop thinking about that fight? Thank you." Okay, Kevin, this is an interesting letter to me because fighting has a profound effect on you psychologically and emotionally, not just physically. We all think about the physical damage of a fight. We watch a fight, we see those big moves, those knockouts, kicks to the head, big takedowns, things like that grab our attention, and we tend to romanticize that stuff. Ooh, that guy got knocked out. Okay, but how does the fight actually affect you psychologically? My friend, it sounds like you have a case of post-traumatic stress syndrome. That's a real thing. It's a real thing that fighters deal with. Your situation actually reminds me a lot of my first professional fight. It was a kickboxing match, and I was traumatized for a couple of reasons. I went in there, I don't know exactly what I was expecting. I don't think I was expecting anything in particular, but I froze mid-fight. And I got beat up a little bit. And I got beat up a little bit for 3 rounds. And I ended up losing that fight. I lost the decision. And I got my ear torn off. It was hanging. Had to have it stitched on. And at the emergency room, as I was waiting in the lobby to get my ear stitched back on, I was reflecting over the fight, and I felt weird. It was a weird feeling. It wasn't the physical damage. It wasn't the punches. It wasn't my ear hanging off and all the blood and all that stuff. The body heals. It does. No problem there. But it was this weird feeling. Like, what the heck just happened? Why did any of that happen? Why did I participate in that? What am I going to do moving forward? How do I deal with all these emotions? Because it was a really emotional experience. And I remember my older brother was there at the hospital, and he was trying to talk to me, and it was just like I couldn't really process what he was saying. And I just kept thinking about the emotional content surrounding this fight and the outcome. It wasn't the loss, it wasn't the damage, it wasn't the punches, it was trauma that I was trying to process and deal with and move past. And I didn't really know how. And it took some time, it took quite a bit of time. I remember a few months later, I was working out at a gym I went to. It was a Gold's Gym. And the guy that I fought actually worked out at that same gym, and we ran into each other, and we chatted a bit, and we were like, "Hey, good fight, man. That was a thing that we did." And we parted ways. No animosity. He was a cool guy. And it was nothing personal, just a professional fight, all business. But it was a weird step in processing that, talking to the guy face to face, and that is something that helped me move past all those weird, negative feelings involved in processing violence, processing the emotions surrounding violence. Because a combat sport, at the end of the day, it is violence. And a fight, a street fight, what happened to you is violence. Violence against a friend, nonetheless. And clearly in your situation, there were a lot of emotions involved in that situation. So I think it's very important to acknowledge that. Now, this is a guy you called a friend. Somebody that you knew, somebody that you've known for a while, somebody you went to school with. Not just some random stranger. Now, I fought a random stranger, a guy I didn't know from Adam. And I had to process that for a while. You exchanged blows with an actual friend of yours. That's several other layers of complexity to process. I often hear people say, the difference between men and women is that when women fight, they bicker and they yap and whatever, and they just get angry. But when men fight, they just punch each other a few times, and then they're friends. And I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's that simple. When we get into a violent altercation, we have to deal with that violence here and here. So how do you do that? Well, I'd suggest look up some literature on post-traumatic stress syndrome. I've read a little bit, not too much. There's an old saying, time heals all wounds, but you probably want a more immediate solution than just waiting it out and pondering and thinking about it for a very long time. What I would suggest, if you are on terms to do so with your friend, talk to him. Just like when I ran into this guy I had the kickboxing match with at the gym, and we talked over it, that really did help me process it, help me move on and realize, hey, it happened. It was what it was. Now let's move on from here. Perhaps you could do that with your friend. I'm trying to find another word besides confront. I don't want to say confront him because that sounds confrontational. That sounds negative. So I would say frame this in a positive way. Talk to him about it. Talk about the fight. Acknowledge, hey, this is the thing that happened. Maybe get some feedback from him. Possibly vent. Let him vent. Put it all out there on the table. Maybe talk about what you were fighting about. You mentioned that during this altercation, you were both drunk. Well, have a meeting sober. And it's probably going to be quite a bit different. Because it's much, much easier to think and process things when you have your wits and your faculties about you 100%. So that's my advice to you. Talk it out. You already fought it out. Talk it out now. And then from there, hopefully, you can move on. Thanks for the question. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments down below or email me at ramseydewey@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.